Donna Greer's house is not what either of them expects. It's large, the kind of large that announces old money without apologizing for it. But it has the particular feeling of a place that's been maintained out of habit rather than care. Rooms that were furnished 60 years ago and never updated, because updating them would mean deciding something. And deciding things about this house has always been complicated. She meets them at the door herself. She's smaller than Hollis imagined, sharper in the eyes than the formal letter suggested, and she looks at both of them for a long moment before she speaks, the way someone looks at a thing they've been expecting for a long time. "You're younger than I thought you'd be," she says to Hollis. "You're younger than I thought you'd be," he says back, without meaning to, and something shifts in her face. Not quite a smile, but close to one. She makes tea, which neither of them particularly wants but both accept, because it gives her hands something to do while she talks, and that, it becomes clear, is the point. Donna Greer is not a person who says difficult things directly. She circles them, approaches, retreats, tries another angle. It's taken her 80 years to get good at it, and she is very good at it. What she tells them, over the course of an hour in a sitting room full of furniture nobody has sat in much, is this. She was 10 years old in 1974. Her father was Harrison Greer, the man who made the decision to seal the shaft. She grew up understanding that decision as a tragedy. Her father carried it. She watched him carry it. And she accepted the version of it she was given, which was that the fire made rescue impossible, and the sealing was the only choice. She was 32 before she found the file. It was in her father's study, in a locked drawer she'd had no reason to open until he died. A single folder, unmarked. Inside, a handwritten log of the radio communications from the foreman underground in the 3 days before the sealing. The official record said communication was lost after the first day. The log showed something different. Communications continuing through day 2 and into day 3, right up until the sealing. "My father talked to them," she says, and her voice is completely steady, which is somehow worse than if it weren't. "He talked to the foreman. His name was Roy Cassell. Roy told him what they'd found in the lower seam." She pauses. "My father never wrote down exactly what Roy said, just that one word in the margin. He wrote it, and then he crossed it out, but not hard enough." Hollis leans forward. "What word?" Donna wraps both hands around her teacup. "Wrong," she says. "He wrote that whatever Roy described was wrong, and then he sealed the shaft." The room is very quiet. Outside, the wind moves through the trees around the Greer house, and somewhere down the hall, a clock ticks. "Do you still have the file?" Hollis asks. "I've had it for 50 years, she says. "I've been waiting for someone who'd know what to do with it." The file is 15 pages, fragile at the folds. Hollis photographs every page on his phone, while Mara reads over his shoulder, and neither of them says anything for a long time. Most of it is technical. Mine terminology, depth readings, structural notes in a foreman's shorthand. Roy Cassell was thorough. He logged everything, right up until he had something to log that he didn't have language for. The entry that matters is on page 11, dated 3 days before the sealing, at 2:47 in the morning. Roy's handwriting changes here, gets smaller, less even, the pen pressing harder. Lower seam cleared. Found a chamber. Not on any survey. Nothing like it in 30 years. Wrong shape, wrong temperature. Walls smooth in a way coal doesn't go smooth. Like something wore them that way. Not a collapse. Not a natural formation. Men won't go back in without the lights, and I can't blame them. Then, a few hours later, the sound started. coming from the chamber. Not gas, not settling, not anything I've got a name for. Henderson says it sounds like breathing. I told him that's ridiculous. He's not wrong, though. And then the last entry, the final one in the log. Lost Henderson. He went back in alone at 4 a.m. We can hear him on the radio, but we can't understand what he's saying. It doesn't sound like language anymore. Requesting immediate authorization to seal and evacuate. Whatever is down here is not. It ends there. Mid-sentence. The rest of the page is blank. Hollis photographs the last page twice, hands steady. Mara is very quiet beside him. When he looks up, Donna is watching them from across the room, with the expression of someone who has been carrying something for a very long time, and is only now setting it down. I don't know what they found, Donna says. I've never known. My father didn't write it down because I think he didn't believe what Roy described, or didn't want to. He sealed the shaft because it was cheaper, and because whatever Roy was telling him frightened him. Both of those things can be true at the same time. The chamber, Hollis says. Wrong shape, smooth walls, wrong temperature. He looks back at his phone screen. Wrong temperature. Too cold or too warm. Donna shakes her head. Roy didn't say. But Hollis is already thinking about his map, about the line of cold spots moving from the colliery toward the center of town, about the boarding house at the end of that line, sitting directly above where the lower seam runs, if you follow it far enough, about the fact that Roy Cassell found a chamber that wasn't on any survey, about the fact that it could still be there. The drive back into Mercer Hollow happens at dusk, the town appearing at the bottom of the hill the way it always does, small, ordinary, the lights coming on in the windows one by one. Hollis has Roy's last entry pulled up on his phone. Mara is looking out at the town. You're going to the boarding house, she says. Not a question. Yeah, I'm coming. He doesn't argue. The light changes. They drive down into Mercer Hollow.